Hi, my name is Suri Crowe, and you are watching the MeidasTouch Network. Never forget that with MAGA, which is now officially the Republican Party, because the GOP of 30 years ago is long gone. That party no longer exists. MAGA has taken over the Republican Party. But with MAGA, cruelty is always the point.
Why
on this
do the
side.
Democrats always say this could happen?
It did happen. It didn't could
They're
happen.
torturing them?
Did you watch the video?
Torturing?
Yeah. Did you
I saw
read
them
the
shaving
Time
their
magazine?
heads.
Time magazine was there when the gay barber from Venezuela who had a crown tattoo that said "Mom" was being processed coming into the El Salvadorian. Oh, am I boring you again? I'm sorry.
No, but you've been talking about this gay barber from El Salvador with some stupid tattoo for weeks.
Yeah.
Weeks, Jessica.
Come on.
It's just a gay barber.
He's not into you.
He's an innocent guy who got swept up in a deportation, and hopefully we get it figured out and straightened out. But a lot of people in this country, Jessica, get arrested for things that they didn't do, get falsely accused, falsely convicted.
I'm also against racial profiling.
That doesn't mean you just stop arresting people. That doesn't mean you stop arresting criminals because one guy was arrested who was innocent. It just means you just try to do it better the next time. And I have nothing against the gay barbers. Gay barbers usually give the best haircuts.
Jesse Waters always reminds me of Christian Bale's character in that movie, American Psycho. Just a complete, I know you hear me say this word all the time, psychopath, but really just full-on sociopath. And yeah, Jesse, it does mean that you stop arresting people. It does mean that you stop sweeping the streets of people based on body ink and without any evidence of them belonging to criminal gangs or having committed any crimes at all. And that gay hairstylist that you're like, oh my God, stop talking about him, Jessica. He is a Venezuelan whose name is Andre Hernandez Romero. And he was not the only innocent person who was swept up by Trump's ICE thugs and sent to one of the world's harshest prisons in El Salvador, the terrorism confinement center known as SCOTUS. Well, 60 Minutes did the hardcore investigative journalism that Trump and his fascists despise. And they found out, this information about the men who were deported to El Salvador. But here's what 60 Minutes did find out about the 238 men who were deported there. At least 22% of the men on the list have criminal records here in the United States or abroad. The vast majority are for nonviolent offenses like theft, shoplifting, and trespassing. About a dozen are accused of murder, rape, assault, and kidnapping. For 3% of those deported, it is unclear whether a criminal record even exists. But CBS could not find criminal records for 75% of the Venezuelans, 179 men, now sitting in one of the world's most harsh prisons. But that doesn't stop the Trump Fox propaganda machine from working overtime to push back that they deported loads of innocent men to a concentration camp. This is Trump's DHS Assistant Secretary for Public Affairs on Fox.
Critics are saying that innocent people are being swept up in the illegal gang member deportation operations. And I caught this on your X. You responded to a guy who said just that very thing in a post pointing to a specific individual. You wrote this: DHS intelligence assessments go well beyond just gang-affiliated tattoos. This man's own social media indicates he is a member of Tren de Aragua. What were you talking about there, and what was the pushback?
We have very intense scrutiny and intelligence assessments for these members of Tren de Aragua that we send to El Salvador and to other prisons. The mainstream media is absolutely doing the bidding of these vicious gang members that they're sharing false sob stories. It's really ridiculous, and it's actually very dangerous for our law enforcement that they're doing these things. It goes far beyond their social media posts or tattoos, which is the misnomer that many of the mainstream media is relying upon. We have very great confidence in our intelligence.
Well, and I've noticed too, from talking to the border czar, Tom Homan, and now with you, Tricia, and others, that there can be other investigations that are going on. So of course you're going to be careful about who you scoop up and who you don't scoop up right away. I mean, it's just old-fashioned great law enforcement that's being carried out. Look, you mentioned false sob stories and other actions by some in the liberal media. And I guess by some, I would need for somebody to show me an example of them not doing it.
Good old-fashioned law enforcement there and the liberal media. I mean, Harris Faulkner, I can hardly stand to watch her. But I mean, gross. The careful scooping up. The Trump regime has already been forced to admit that they made a clerical error when they scooped up Kilmar Abrego Garcia of El Salvador, who is legally living in Maryland, married to a U.S. citizen when he was illegally kidnapped by the Trump regime and sent to this concentration camp in El Salvador, leaving his wife and 3 children behind. And as I am writing this story, the utterly corrupt Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, John Roberts, put a pause on a lower court's ruling that told the Trump regime that he was to return Abrego Garcia by midnight tonight, which could mean the difference between whether this man survives or doesn't. I mean, there was a minister in El Salvador who said that the only way out of CCOT was by coffin. That's how dangerous this prison is. So a man, in fact, by lawyers' filings, investigations by CBS News, multiple interviews with families and friends. And in fact, it appears that more than half of those 238 migrants who the Trump regime deported have no criminal record at all. And yet the Supreme Court has no effing urgency to push this regime to return these men when the lower court's rulings, several federal judges said he needs to come back right now. I mean, if that doesn't tell you how fascist this Supreme Court is on the right-wing side, then I don't know what does. Like, the courts are not going to save us. It doesn't mean that there aren't some very good judges like Judge Boasberg, et cetera. But the Supreme Court, unfortunately, the highest law in the land, is fully corrupted by Judge Roberts and his right-wing extremists. It is so incredibly disturbing and heartbreaking to me that there are innocent people that the Trump regime just sent down there. Like, this is Lee Gallant, chief of the ACLU's legal team on 60 Minutes. By the way, the Trump regime is paying El Salvador's Nayib Bukele, he's the president there, corrupt and best buddies with Trump, $6 million a year in our tax dollars to house these men. But Trump's claiming, his regime is claiming they have no way of getting them back, yet they can send Homeland Secretary Kristi Noem down there and her propaganda team to shoot stand-ups and videos and film in 8K, get all their propaganda shot, but they can't get these innocent men back home, but they can send that team down there and get them in and out, no problem. Yeah, they're lying. They are lying. They are effing liars. And meanwhile, these innocent men, like Andre, like those pictures and him calling out for his mom, like, America's deeply broken. This isn't good news at all. Now I know why those experts on fascism from Yale left the country. And unfortunately, I think it's going to get much worse before it gets better. And as one of my favorite legal scholars said recently, the courts are not going to save us. It's going to have to be us. And it can't just be this past weekend of us out protesting and marching. It's going to have to be more and more and more of that. It's going to have to be a tremendous outshowing of the American people. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. If you're a praying person, please pray. I'm praying a lot. Okay.
Love this video? Continue the conversation by following us on Instagram @MeidasTouch and help us blow past 1 million followers.